All India Radio. Regional News Unit of All India Radio presents a variety program by students of PSBB Millenium School regarding G20 Summit, hosted by our news editor S. Joy.
Welcome listeners to another episode on G20 series. Today we have the students of PSBB Millenium School. The kindergarten students have a good song for us. I want to introduce them. What's your name?
Ishan, Lakshavarna, Swapnika, Sairikshana, Varsha.
Okay, they are going to give us a song on G20.
There are many people in this big wide world, far away from each other across big waters. We do speak many languages around. Despite our very culture, we are all the same. Hey, European, Asian, American, African, Australian and more. Distance never matter, cause we are one family. Don't forget we are born in one single land. So keep in mind that come what may, we are on this earth. Hey, European, Asian, American, African, Australian and more. Distance never matter, cause we are one family. We are one family. We are one family.
Thank you listeners. The students of PSBB Millenium School will be presenting to us a speech on G20.
I am Siddharth Dinesh. I am going to talk about healthy plan for sustainability. On the day before Pongal, early in the morning, when I woke up, I saw thick fog outside and I was unable to see things. When I asked my father, he said it is smog. Smog is formed when excess smoke is released and pollutes the air. This makes the air unhealthy to breathe. I then got ready and boarded the school van. On my way to school, I saw huge traffic and there was lot of smoke coming from vehicles. After a while, I saw plastic bottles, bags and cups thrown on both sides of the road. I even saw cows eating those plastic bags, which is not good. When I crossed a small pond, I noticed the water was black. This is due to mixing of chemical waste and sewage. All these are causing pollution to our environment. If we do not act now and stop it, this will harm us. Thank you.
I am Varnika SS. I am deemed with pleasure to deliver a speech on significance of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in today's global scenario. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in global scenario has been given a go by losing our own culture and traditions to some extent. To bring it back, all nations should become self-reliant. Make in India concept introduced by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji is one of the right steps for the restoration of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in India. This builds unity in diversity within family, which leads to balance of health and wealth. This builds a strong nation India, which in turn can make global connections in a harmonious way.
I am Akshada of Class 4, Global Health Architecture. Health problems such as the recent COVID-19 pandemic that affect global population across nations have significant global political and economic impacts, creating a lot of inequality among people. Though some predominant global health agencies such as World Health Organization, UNICEF and United Nations already exist for mediating cooperation between governments, multilateral agencies and non-governmental organizations in order to achieve health-related sustainable development goals, they lack unity and are usually fragmented. Hence, there is unmet need for rejuvenating and strengthening global health architecture with shared responsibility among different countries and organizations, so as to achieve the best health welfare for humankind. Under India's G20 presidency, the focus is on strengthening global health architecture and to ensure collective work towards building a healthier post-pandemic world. To achieve this goal, India has set 3 priorities for G20 track: health emergencies, prevention, preparedness and response. Strengthening cooperation in pharmaceutical sector with focus on access and availability to medical countermeasures. Digital health innovations to aid universal health coverage and improve healthcare and service delivery. Thank you.
I'm Caroline Michelle J. I'm going to talk about the topic digital-based economic transformation and energy transition. Digital transformation is the incorporation of computer-based technologies into an organization's products, processes, and strategies. As some of us might know that energy transition refers to the global energy sector's shift from fossil-based systems of energy production and transition, allowing the integration of more and more renewable energies throughout the electrical system, increasing network reliability and helping to better manage energy demand. Energy conservation techniques are often organized into the 4 P's: planning, pricing, prioritizing, and positioning. Come, dear friends, let's enhance our knowledge towards shifting and switching from the traditional energy sources to renewable energy sources to create a better world.
Listeners, we would like to present a panel discussion on green energy, and this will be moderated by Ashwin of PSBB Millenium School.
Hello, I'm Ashwin and I'll be the moderator for this discussion, and along with me today are
Vidya and Chaitra,
Niranjana, Vishwajit.
So, in 2023, for the first time, India will hold the presidency of the G20. And India's presidency will focus on the theme of One Earth, One Family, One Future. And one of the major aspects of this is the transition to green energy. But why do we even need to transition away from the status quo, away from fossil fuels? To answer that, we have Vishwajit and Vidya. Vishwajit?
So basically, what are fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are a form of non-renewable energy which cause a lot of environmental hazards. Of course, we all know that they emit a large volume of carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas, and this leads to environmental pollution. This causes one of the greatest challenges of modern mankind, which is climate change.
Adding to what Vishwajit said, a severe slowdown in global economic activity combined with high inflation has pushed many sections of the population into a cost of living crisis, especially huge amongst the poor in India. The World Economic Forum recently released the Global Risks Report 2023, which stated that there may be soon a crisis in India due to the cost of living. More than the cost of food, the prices of fossil fuels have reached great heights. So much that a common man has to choose between feeding his family and affording for heating his home.
But Vidya, how is transitioning to green energy going to help us tackle these issues?
So, first, what exactly is green energy? It is any energy type that is generated from the natural resources. It does not harm the environment the way fossil fuels do. Secondly, natural resources like the sun, wind, etc. are present everywhere, and this can be produced locally. So, this local production leads to stable energy prices and a lower cost of living. Thirdly, pursuing green energy creates new green industries and millions of jobs, as you need people for research and development, for installation of things like solar panels, for maintenance, and so on.
There's of course a need to transition to green energy. But how are we going to realize this transition?
So it's important to note that recent technological developments in the field of green energy have been significant and indeed very exciting. Another area of advancement has been in energy storage. So the development of batteries that can store large amounts of energy, for example, lithium-ion batteries, has enabled the use of renewable energy sources even when the sun isn't shining or when the wind isn't blowing. This has helped to overcome one of the major limitations of renewable energy, that is bad weather conditions, right? Finally, there are also many efforts to make even buildings more energy efficient. This includes the use of smart technology. Overall, these technological developments are fighting to make green energy more accessible and affordable for everyone, which is crucial in this fight against climate change.
And what about India? What has India done in this regard in transitioning to green energy?
Historically, India has been dependent on fossil fuels such as coal and petrol. But the Indian government worked a lot towards achieving the 7th SDG, that is, affordable and clean energy. And renewable electricity is growing at a faster rate in India than any other major economy. For instance, India was the world's first country to set up a Ministry of Non-Conventional Energy Resources. The good news is that the clean energy transition in India is already well underway. India is particularly well placed to become a global leader in areas like renewable batteries and green hydrogen.
And what are India's plans for the future?
Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced more ambitious targets for 2023, including installing enormous amounts of renewable energy capacity, reducing emissions intensity and reducing 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide.
That's great news, Vidya, but what about other nations? What have they done?
The main international agreement in place is the Paris Agreement. It aims to reduce emissions, builds resilience and cooperation between various nations, and decreases vulnerability to the adverse effects of climate change. We have the solutions at hand, but what keeps them at bay? The one bottleneck that all solutions get stuck at is funding. With funding issues taken care of, all pieces will fall into line and allow for a switch to green energy.
And by the way, it is not only about money. Another major issue is the lack of uniform international legislation. The aim of introducing such kinds of international laws is to put political effort into world peace and help all the economically developing countries as well as the LDCs to prosper. Now, the purpose of the G20 is to coordinate all the global policies on trade, health, climate and other issues. If multilateral platforms like the G20 can help in combining all the efforts put in by different countries to combat global issues, it makes the progress faster.
You know, societal change is only possible if there's a concerted efforts from all the nations and if there is partnerships on a global scale.
So global partnerships are essential for addressing the challenges of sustainable development, including the need to increase the use of green energy in less developed countries. They don't have the technical expertise to design, to build and operate these green energy systems. So the only solution to this is by partnering with developed countries and organizations that have much more experience in this area. With this, less developed countries can gain access to the latest technologies and best practices for green energy deployment.
So, in conclusion, India's presidency of the G20 presents an opportunity to drive the transition to green energy and combat climate change. By prioritizing investment in renewable energy, promoting sustainable practices and building international cooperation, the G20 can chart a bold new course towards a cleaner, greener and more sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Listeners, we are going to listen to two of the students giving a talk on the latest subjects, how pandemic has affected the economy and about digital currency.
This is Aishwarya here to talk about the heated trend of digital currencies growing after the pandemic. We have managed to steer through the COVID-19 pandemic, but still it has left behind permanent and unforgettable scars. The pandemic consequently led to the world's second largest recession ever, the COVID-19 recession, a great lockdown, and the 2020 stock market crash. The Reserve Bank of India launched the CBDC, or the digital rupee. Digital currencies are available 24/7, even beyond working hours of banks, and transactions are faster and cheaper. Plus, it saves the expense of building physical manufacturing units for paper currencies. In simple words, CBDC is the digital avatar of paper currency, just more efficient and transparent. The pandemic hasn't spared a single aspect, let alone the world's economy. When the whole world shut down, people lived online and saw digital platforms and currencies as a savior. So we conclude by proposing digital currency as a silver ray of hope. Thank you.
This is Yarni here. We will be talking upon how the pandemic is pressuring and alarming India to strengthen its digital form of currency. With the current recession in Europe, UK and the G7 ruining lives across the world, the war crisis between Ukraine and Russia, India has managed to retain its economy in its new form of digital currency, e-rupee. CBDC has come up with advantages overpowering the currently used SWIFT network. The first superpower that CBDC brings to the table is smart contracts. This helps asylum seekers who seek subsidies but don't receive it due to few people who don't keep up with their credit score. But here, the subsidies will be automatically updated as the years pass by and your revenue income increases. Secondly, its ability to take financial inclusion beyond geographical and population limitation. And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, the digital rupee is expected to lower the remit and transfer cost, making it easier for the Indian diaspora to send and receive money. Thank you.
You were listening to a variety program by students of PSBB Millenium School regarding G20 Summit, hosted by our news editor S. Joy.